Amputated Baptist Podcast, we gather around to talk theology, politics, and the sweet banjo sound. Kevin Thompson leads the way, teacher and preacher too. With a men's quartet, the harmonies ring true. Gather around the mic, let's find our way, singing praises, strumming banjo strings all day. Amputated Baptist Podcast, where we all belong. Join the harmony, let it carry us along. With a passion for faith and a banjo by our side, we don't deep, we don't hide, we take it all in stride. From parables to politics, every topic on the table, let's harmonize together, let's make it stable. In the chord progressions we find our peace, singing praises, strumming banjo strings all day. Amputated Baptist Podcast, where we all belong. Join the harmony, let it carry us along.
Theology, politics, and a little bit of banjo. You're listening to the Amputated Baptist Podcast. And now, here is your host, the Amputated Baptist himself, Kevin Thompson.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I wasn't really planning on doing a podcast, or at least recording a podcast. I am overcoming... That's a really cool cough, timing for a cough. I'm overcoming a cold, and my voice isn't 100% yet. But then Saturday happened. And I was shocked, along with many of you, not at the No Kings rallies, and I have my own thoughts about that, but I'm not really going to share them on this podcast. And, you had Trump's military parade, and I'm not really going to spend a lot of time on that either. But I was sickened and shocked to hear about the assassinations, the political assassinations up in Minnesota. You have a assembly speaker shot and killed. You have, along with her husband, a state senator and his wife shot, thankfully not killed. Other homes were visited of local politicians, and there seemed to be a hit list with quite a few names, including, as I found out yesterday, my own state senator, or U.S. senator from my state, Tammy Baldwin, and my former congressman, Mark Pocan, were on that list. These are two people I knew. So this shocking, horrific event turned from, oh, that's shocking, that's too bad, we shouldn't be doing this, to, oh man, this guy's targeting people I've known, people I've met, people I've spoken with. And that just really hit home. So I wasn't planning on saying anything more than I already had said yesterday on social media, but I felt the need today to take, I don't know how long this podcast is probably going to be short, but I wanted to address this. We all agree, or most of us agree, that political violence is just not acceptable. Whether it's the J6 riots, the insurrection on our Capitol, whether it's the attacking of Nancy Pelosi's husband, or the two attempts on President Donald Trump. None of this is acceptable. And yes, I'm even talking about the protests in Los Angeles. I'm all for peaceful protests. And that's why, by the way, the No Kings rallies across the country I thought were great. That's how we should be doing these things. But we can't ever find ourselves in a position where we are just overlooking violence. And so once you resort to violence, listen, you've lost the point of whatever it is you're trying to argue with, because now people are going to be focusing on that violence. Now, Violence is wrong no matter what the point is. And no matter if it's effective or not, you shouldn't be harming other people. Period. And so I say with the loudest voice that I condemn this type of action. And I don't want to be flippant about this. Like, unfortunately, Senator Mike Lee used this as an opportunity to take to Twitter and to try to score some points, mocking this horrific event, even while it was unfolding before our eyes. That's absolutely unacceptable. At the very least, the U.S. Senate should be censuring this man. And I like Mike Lee. I think he and I agree on a lot of things, but this is not one of them at all. This is absolutely unacceptable. But I backtrack, and I think maybe 80% of us agree you shouldn't use violence to get your point across. And we all agree that murder is never acceptable. But I think the issue goes deeper than that. The issue goes to the rhetoric that we're using, the hatred that leads to, in fact, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus, when he talks about not killing, he said, yeah, you've heard it said by the multiple time, thou shalt not kill. But whoever gets angry with his brother, whoever says to the brother, you fool, that's the problem. So it's not just the violent act, but what led to the violent act. And I believe we are in a culture that just accepts hatred. Now, I'm not just talking about one side. I'm talking about both sides. I believe in our political culture, we are so sharply divided that each side hates the other side. Hate is a strong word, and I'm using it on purpose. Because gone are the days where we can simply have disagreements. But there has to be hatred for the other side. Conservatives are not just people we disagree with. They want your grandmother dead. They want to take away everybody's health care, everybody's social security. They want old people and poor people to die. I've heard Democrats say this. And Democrats, oh, these are evil people wanting to annihilate the very foundations upon which our country was founded. They want to make everybody trans or gay or whatever, and they're not going to be happy until any sense of morality has been utterly defeated. So now we're encouraging this violence because America is under attack. Your grandparents are under attack. Your church is under attack. Your well-being is under attack by the other party, by the other side. Folks, that's just not true. It's not. You need to stop watching Fox News or MSNBC or whatever. We got to get past the talking points of each side. Politics is more of a spectrum. And the fringes of both sides are the loudest. And they're heaping hate upon the other fringe. And what's trapped are those of us in the middle. And it's time that we stood up and said, cut it out. Stop it. We have to tone down the rhetoric. And we do that by two ways: talking to each other and listening to each other. Now, here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying we give up our core beliefs. I am a conservative Christian. I'm an evangelical Christian. I believe Jesus Christ is Lord. I believe the scripture, the Bible, is the word of God, inspired and preserved. I believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. I will not back down from that 1 inch, 1 iota. But I believe to show the love of Christ, I have to learn to communicate in a way that's loving and in a way that's truthful. Here's what I mean. Number one, loving. I have to communicate in a way that's loving my neighbor. Jesus taught that. Paul teaches us to preach the truth in love. And not just to preach the truth in love, but preach the truth because of love. No one here is my enemy. Paul says in Ephesians that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, but wickedness in high places. And even if we did have enemies, Jesus said, love your enemies. I'm not looking at people as my enemy, but I'm looking at people I want to show love toward. And part of that love is showing them the truth. But they're not going to listen if I'm just filled with hatred. And again, I understand that love sometimes means tough love and telling people what they don't want to hear. I get that. And I don't deny that in any way, shape, or form. But people aren't going to listen to me unless they realize I have their best interest in mind. So preach the truth in love. Number one, preach the truth, but preach the truth because of love, or love because preach the truth. I'm a little rambling here. Sorry, my voice is not with me today. I need to be able to listen and talk, but I want to be truthful about what other people believe. This year, I'll be teaching a current events class at school. And part of that class is I assign them position papers where they have to take a position on whatever it is, whatever topic I assign them, whether it's abortion or higher taxes or foreign policy, should we go and invade Iraq or whatever. And the first thing they have to do before coming to their position is give me both sides of the argument. But you need to represent that other side in a way that's honest, in a way that someone who actually believes that side recognizes it. In other words, if we're talking about abortion, the pro-choice side isn't saying we want to kill children. We just love the blood of innocent children in our hands, and we want to exterminate everybody in the womb. Well, that's maybe what you think that they believe, but that's not what any pro-choice person would ever say. And again, I'm a very staunch pro-life person. You guys know that. And likewise, the pro-life side is not, we want to control women's bodies. We just really want them to be subservient in every way, shape, and form. We want to bring in the Handmaid's Tale as reality. No. You actually have to engage with the other side to know what they actually believe. And we're going to find out, yeah, we're very different. And we may be a huge far way apart from each other. But we could also find some common ground where we can work together on some things. And that's my hope. We may never solve some of these issues, and I get that. But I can't lie about what other people believe. And that's what leads to this hatred, I think, that we see. Because again, if I'm looking at this other person across the aisle from me as merely someone who's trying to attack me, attack civilization, attack my very well-being, attack my faith, attack my church, attack my family, well, then of course, how would I not take up arms against that person? That's self-defense. Listen to me, that's not where we are. We live in America. We have freedoms other countries only dream of. And maybe we're heading downhill. But we're not there yet. So let's stop. We are not under the persecution that the founders of our faith had to go through. Peter, Paul, Athanasius, Polycarp, they'd be envious of the freedom we have to spread the gospel here in this country, in this world. Let's not overhype everything, because that's not being honest and that's not being true. Philippians 4:8 falls into this category. Think on these things which are true, not what your political talking points are. You need to love the Democrat, love the conservative, love the MAGA, love the LGBTQ plus community. Preach the truth, but do so in love. We have to tone down the rhetoric. I'm not going to agree with my friends who are Democrats, progressives, liberals on everything. Not even close. But each one of them is an image bearer of God who deserves love, respect, who has value, and they deserve that from me and from you. We are Christians. And I'm saying this to the listeners of my podcast, and you guys are, if you're listening to this, you're probably a Christian or you lean in that direction. As Christians, that's a command from God. Christ above the Republican Party, Christ above the Democratic Party, Christ above my third party. My politics bends to Christ. I don't make Christ bend to my political views. We have to start acting like adults. The rhetoric has to stop. And yes, I'll say it, that begins at the top. That begins with our president, who needs to stop the childish name calling. And folks, we need to call him out on that. Yes, thanks to him, I am so thankful for the Hobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. I rejoiced that day. But that does not excuse his tone. That does not excuse his immaturity. That leads to the division that we have today. I am not a member of a cult. I can praise Donald Trump when I feel like he needs to be praised, but I will call him out whenever I need to call him out, and I will. And I wish more of you would as well. So let me wrap this up. I just got in the car. I've got to run a little errand here. Let me wrap this up by just saying, Christians, we have a higher calling. And we can actually make a difference in this world. And I believe we can lead men to Christ, and women and children. I believe we can make a difference in this world. But we're not going to do it through politics. We're not going to do it by lying about what people believe. We're not going to do it by spreading hatred. We're going to do it by showing the love of Christ. That's not the weak way out. That's not the compromised way out. It's a biblical way. Yes, preach against what you need to preach against. Preach for what you need to preach for. I am not saying otherwise, but I am saying cut it out. Stop it with the rhetoric. Tone down love more, I think, is the basic idea. Now, I'm going to recommend 2 resources this week, 2 books I think have made a big difference. One is a political book, and one is more of a theological book. One, Tip and the Gipper by Chris Matthews, takes us back to a time when Ronald Reagan, conservative Republican, and Tip O'Neill, very liberal Democrat from my home state of Massachusetts, found ways to get along, found ways to compromise, and get the work of the people done. And then I want to recommend a book by Rosaria Butterfield, who, if you know her testimony, was a feminist, lesbian, who, through the love of a pastor who reached out, converted to Christianity. And read her tale. I hate to say it, this is kind of a rambling thing, but I can't remember the name of her book. But by the time this is posted, I'll have that for you there in the comment in the show description, the show notes. So until next time, let's love more, fight less, and let's all work together, and we can have a common bond, a common goal. If anything, that common goal should be, let's promote the podcast. Let's promote the Amputated Baptist podcast. Share this with your friends. Join our Facebook group. Join us on X and Instagram and all those other social medias out there. So starting next week, we're going to do a 4-part series, entitled "Come, Let Us Reason Together." And the impetus of these podcasts were my friend Ray Jewell, pastor of Afton Community Church in Afton, Wisconsin, a good friend of mine. And we had the vision of inviting some people that we disagreed with on, and talking out some of our differences and discussing some of these things in a calm, rational, and loving way. Now, unfortunately, some of the guests we invited couldn't attend, but we did have Dave Swanson, who's up in Minnesota right now, lives there, the Rochester area. And he and Ray have been friends for years, and through that connection, Dave and I have formed a friendship as well. And so the 3 of us talk about these issues for the next 4 weeks. Come, let us reason together. You won't want to miss that. We're going to talk about some mutual friends that we have, some atheists, some liberal progressives, but we talk about how we can work together while still retaining our own values and our own stances. You don't want to miss that. So I hope you'll tune in, download, whatever it is, for the next couple of weeks. Actually, I hope you do it for more than that, but especially these next couple of weeks. So check us out, amputedbaptist.com. Tell your friends. So until next week, have a great rest of your week.
Singing praises, strumming banjo strings all day. Amputated Baptist podcast, where we all belong. Join the harmony, let it carry us along.